Welcome to Prism, podcast of the University of the Philippines College of Architecture. The Prism project is an electronic newsletter published by the gender team at the University of the Philippines College of Architecture, published 3 times every semester. It informs UP College of Architecture faculty, staff, and students of relevant developments, updates, events, and news concerning gender, equality, and women's empowerment in our community, profession, and extension work. The gender team also shares best practices of the work of colleagues and students. No matter who you are or the color of your skin, you are welcome in Prism.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Prism Podcast. I am Sarah Musabi, your gender and development focal point for the College of Architecture at the University of the Philippines. June is Pride Month, and we celebrate how love is love. I would like to welcome you to our Pride Month podcast 2023 to celebrate diversity, inclusivity, and equality. Let's stand together in love and acceptance, and happy Pride Month. So for today, we have a very special guest with us, students of Professor June Jimenez. We have Elizabeth Regina Buena and Menard Estavillo and Sheena Marie Franco. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prism Podcast.
Hi everyone. My name is Liz Buena, and I'm a second-year student taking up Master of Architecture. I'm actually under the theme, the focus po of urban design. This is my we're required to take a 2-1-1 outside the focus, so this is the one I took. It was really interesting. So I aside from the other courses that was offered, I didn't hesitate to take it. It was actually my first choice. Yes, ma'am.
Nice meeting you. Menard. Hi, Menard.
Hi, Prof. Sarah. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Menard Estevillo. So it's my second year also in Master of Architecture. Currently, I work as a faculty member at TIP. And then at first, I was quite holding back of getting this course because, I mean, the connection of architecture and gender, which I think when I was still trying to or enroll in this course, which I couldn't get. But however, since I enrolled this course, I actually find a connection between architecture and gender.
Thank you, Menard. It's really nice to have you here. And Sheena. Hi, Sheena.
Hello, Prof. Sarah.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sheena Marie Franco. I'm a first year Master of Architecture student in UP Diliman, also specializing in history, theory, and criticism. And I work as a full-time faculty member of the Department of Architecture in UP Mindanao. And for this course, I'm actually interested with the given readings by Professor June, as these are grounded on theories in understanding gender and the status quo of the gender relations and our social order. So it has been a good semester to tackle this and to discuss all the discourses on gender and how gender also is reflected in the spatial production in architecture. So I'm excited to talk about these readings in this podcast.
Thank you, Sheena. Yeah, I'm sure it's very interesting. And so that's why I have few questions for you all. Maybe you also can share with our audiences about what you are reading. Tell us about what your reading and reflecting on the connect architecture with gender as a discourse. Who would like to share first? Menard, do you want to go first?
Hello, yeah, sure. Actually, all the readings that was given to us are very interesting. And then what I was my my favorite was the Her Stories by Arnold because it explored how gender influences the way we experience and perceive spaces, and how architectural design can either reinforce or challenge gender norms and inequalities. So it also delves into the history of women in architecture and, of course, their contribution to the field. Ayan.
Interesting, very interesting. Sheena, also, would you like to share your thoughts about our question?
Yes, Prof. On the reflections in the given readings, uh, I'm primarily interested on the historical account and historical analysis of our understanding and stand on gender, and how our gender culture reflects how we interpret and shape the our built environment, perhaps our spaces and our own perceptions of these spaces. So our experiences on the spatial production are primarily they were affected or they were contributed by the historical context of also how we understood gender and how the body, our body as humans, are sexed and objectified. So I was interested in the previous discussions in class and the rest of our discourse and our reflections.
Thank you. How about you, Lee?
For me, uh, the the last few readings were the most interesting. They were Massey and Wrigley, and I saw how architecture was well, primarily the house was a mechanism for the domestication of women. And as Sheena mentioned, I'm also interested in how the history of of these things evolve in those readings. Um, the there were accounts dating back from Alberti Renaissance times until they were being interpreted to to today's society. And for me, that was very interesting because um, the ideas were very old and we can still see them uh, practiced or believed in today.
Okay, so we'll go to the second question. Which of the issues in reading interested you the most?
Yes, po.
Menor?
So
Yeah, Sheena. Okay.
sorry. So it's for me, it's about like I mentioned earlier about the historical context, and this is from Zollner's anthropomorphism and the standardized order or canon that we use in architecture actually came from a man. So, for instance, the Vitruvius man and all the normative parameters that we are using in architecture that is based from a man. So it's quite interesting how we understood this context and primarily how these canon affect our day-to-day use of the space. So for instance, in the Philippines, say during the colonial period, so the colonial framework that is facilitated to us, where or is actually facilitated by men in power, so such as the friars, the royalties. So these are all male-dominated leaders. So in effect, as we were captured by these colonizers, our spaces and architecture were also shaped and form conforming to this type of culture. So the male gaze or the male dominance. So it's reflected in the programs that they have introduced to us, so such as the laws of the Indies, the use of the church as primarily governed by friars. So these spaces are built environment which favors this objectified version of gender. So therefore, there is an order in this social political layout that dictate how we should perform or how we should perceive uh, these spaces which were favoring the men and othering the women. So it personally it's in my personal interest in analyzing these situations as an architect or even as an educator, as I'm also teaching history to my students. So it's good that I have this other version or other contextual analysis to teach the students how to analyze our architecture or spaces, not just on historical point of view or historical context, but also taking into account the gender relations that were formed based on those accounts from history.
Very interesting. Leonard, what about you?
Yeah, among all the various issues discussed on the given readings, siguro one of the particularly interested me is the concept of gendered space. Like home is being tagged or female coded space, and then outdoor is being tagged as male dominated space. Parang this refers to the idea that certain spaces are designed and uh, parang experienced differently by individuals based on what gender, leading to parang inequalities and unequal opportunities. So it raises the question about the role of architecture in shaping social hierarchies and reinforcing gender stereotypes, just like what Mishina said, like during the pre-colonial times, that women are intended to stay at home, and then they are intended to I mean they are not allowed to take education because they are intended to be a or submit to their husband. Okay, parang although this kind of issues made me more conscious of the need for inclusive design and at the same time cater diverse gender identities and of course to challenge also the norms.
Lee? Hi.
Ay, for me naman, Prof, simple lang yung nag-stand out for me is based on the recent readings, yung to be considered a modern artist, that artist has to, ano ba, parang paint siguro one, I don't know how many, but the object or the subject of their painting should somehow be related to a woman's body. So for me, that was like, wow, it's good in a sense that I think it was a starting point of something, but for me uh it was so it stood out for me. I'm still grasping what it really is, but it was a turning point to be
Yeah,
considered modern and to associate it with the woman's body to be exact was like
that's
yun ba?
right. Yeah. So do you guys like to share maybe the title of books that you read? Maybe our audience are interested to also read about the articles that you shared.
Yes, Prof. For for the academe theory and practice, we've read from Arnold, Scott Brown, and Friedman. It's called Reading Architectural Her Stories, The Discourses of Gender, and Reading Architectural History. Also, we have discussed from Braidotti, The Post-Human Glossary in 2018, and we have dealt with Lilia Quindosa Santiago, The Roots of Feminist Thought in the Philippines. Also from Cabalfin, The Malabaklang Espasyo, Haraway, Situated Knowledges, and I guess Liz and Menard could share also the other readings later.
Yeah, please.
Yung kay Masi, yung Space, Place, and Gender, and Sexuality and Space by Wiggly Colony.
Yeah, additional readings could be The Undoing Gender by Butler, and then Gender Performance as Special Acts. Uh, yeah, by Spanger. Yeah, those are readings that are quite interesting. But among the readings, I'm very interested with the Malabak lang Espasyo, which is Filipino version, which is quite madaling intindihin. Yeah.
Thank you, Menard, for sharing with us. So everyone can start reading also and searching about the articles and books. That seems very interesting also. It quite help us in our field and also the future of architecture. Let's go to our last question. How do you think these issues reflect your practice as a graduate student of UP Diliman, UPRK, or as an educator? I know some of you are an educator and also as an architect.
Well, first, as an architect who is practicing the profession, no, one of the reflections that I have drawn from this subject or from the readings is that women in a position of power is considered as a deviation to the society's notion of natural or normal or these invented traditions. For instance, in the practice of architecture, no, as I practice design and build, women architects are constructed or construed as weak, or also they are not fit in the construction management because the norm dictates that construction is for men. So the construction workforce is composed mostly of men, and that they share the same language of understanding and the male-dominated skill. So this perhaps uh, should be investigated, no, or challenge this impression as this continues in our practice, not just in the industry but also in the academe and in other workforce. So in general, we have entered into this arena of questioning these conditions of social and both spatial production, no, a progressive fit in fighting against the instruments of misogyny in spaces, misogyny in the practice, and also fighting against the political dynamics that manipulate the power, no, using gender and gender relations.
Yes, for me, in the practice, as also mentioned by Sheena, as an architect practicing still predominantly male dominated industry, um, uh, there's an additional challenge really. I've been doing design build for a few years now, and I'm usually with the same workers, and until now, several projects we've already done several projects, and they're still very cautious or careful with me entering the site, but it's still very dusty and very dirty and very dangerous according to them. So for me, it's I take it as a challenge. That yun nga, I want to show them that it's it doesn't matter that I'm a girl, I can do this. As an as an academician, I'm an educator. In the academe, I hope to inspire my students to hopefully avoid that discrimination in the very little things when they start practicing architecture outside. Yan lang.
Thank you, Lynn. Lastly, Menor.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was in college, I was introduced that architecture is a male-dominated profession. Although I have like friends and classmates, uh, well, architects that are very good in the profession. So, as as an educator or being in an academe, I would like to raise awareness among my students about this kind of issues and encourage everyone to integrate gender perspective and then more inclusive designs in their design processes and um, remove the norms that male are better male are better than female in architecture profession because both male and female are could do best in architecture.
And thank you all for listening. I am Sarah, and I would like to invite you again to listen in next time.